Hi, Paul. Welcome to LINEA ROCK.
Hello, thanks for having me. Nice to be back.
Yeah, I should say, but welcome back to LINEA ROCK because you've been our guest in our studios quite a few times. Well, I'm so happy that 7 years after, The Answer are back in business with this 7th studio album, Sundowners, which is really great, I must admit that. But first off, I'm really, really so glad that you are back together. I can breathe the authentic motivation, the good spirit, the good vibe, energy, passion, really mean it from the heart of this new record. You also have a new look, actually. Quite all the band except maybe Cormac, which stays true to himself. But let me ask you first, why now? And did you keep in contact with the other guys during this long period of hiatus, let's call it like that? Or actually you really felt the need, to stay apart?
I think it was just after 20 years of being in the band together, we kind of got to a point and things weren't getting any bigger. And I think kind of after Solace, we were all a bit burnt out and needed to take a break and reset. And I think at the time, I wasn't sure if we would ever come back because it was, we had a pretty good run at it. We did 6 albums and it was, 20 years of your life. I thought that's it. And then we kind of didn't really see each other for about 2 years. I don't think I saw anyone for 2 years, and I didn't think I would for much longer afterwards as well. But I received a call kind of in 2019 from our manager, and he said there was a possibility of doing another album. There was a record label interested, and would we be interested? So the 4 of us got together and talked about it, and there was the hunger was there to come back, and we felt we had unfinished business. We wanted to get back to it, and it's been kind of much longer because of the COVID break. Then that put another 2 years onto things. So it's been, it'll be 7 years almost since Solace. So we hope to come back sooner. But it's, better late than never.
So you, Paul, founded the band back 25 years ago almost. Mm-hmm. May I ask you what's the answer that you found within yourself, to make this comeback really happen? And did you make the first move when, it came out, the proposal of doing a new record? Was it you, as you did in the very first place when you founded the band?
Good question. I'm not. I was kind of not sure at first. I definitely wanted to make another album, but being apart for even just those 2 years, our lives had changed quite a lot. I had my first child, so that was a totally new experience for me. And I was kind of just about adjusted to not being in a band, being a father. And I was still doing music, but in a different way. So I just kind of got comfortable with that and was thinking, do I want to go back to what we did before? But we all, we had a meeting. It just started like we are talking right now on a Zoom call. And we met up in Ireland again and just had a jam, and the chemistry was still there. We're really excited to see each other. And, we started sort of writing songs again. And I think probably from the first session, there were some songs ended up on the record, things like Livin On The Line, I Want You To Love Me. And then we did another one where I think Cold Heart came together in that one. So there was, even though we didn't realize it, there was a lot of the stuff that would become the album started straight away. To answer your question, did I make the first move this time? No, I think I was probably the last one to the party this time. But I need a little push on the dance floor this time. But it didn't take me too long to get on there,
All right. Was it more a matter of compromise or brotherhood? Since, you've been together 20 years, so it's a long time. It's almost family, a second family.
Well, yeah, and sometimes I've seen these guys more than my family for certainly a few years. Yeah, even back even when we weren't touring, we would see each other 5 days a week and rehearse or write songs together, or there'd be some business of the band to do. And at that stage we all lived in Ireland within a 10-minute radius, so we would just see each other every day. And then when we would go away and tour, we'd be away from the family, but we'd still be together. So it was. It's worse than a marriage in some ways, but there was definitely a brotherhood there, I think, and just a lot of love and respect for each other once we got in the room together again. And it was, I think, after the initial kind of breaking the ice and getting to see everyone again, it was very easy. And those first few sessions just were as much fun as it was way back in the day. And there was definitely compromise. I think people are more mature, and we listen to each other with more patience, and that definitely helped the songwriting process and made it much more enjoyable. And then I think when COVID came, that kind of put a spanner in the works, and I thought maybe we'll not get this chance to finish the record. I didn't know if when gigs would come back, if we'd be able to make the album together, would the record label still be interested? Yeah. But we managed to keep it going, and we'd meet up once a week on Zoom with ideas, collaborate, go away on our own, and come back. And I think we met up together once it was possible to fly again. We met up in Ireland for a week in the summer of 2020 and did some more demos. And then there was another lockdown, so we did the same thing. And we didn't see each other for another year. So I think that was 2021. We did the same thing, the summer, a week, recording together. Then went our separate ways and just had a quick rehearsal before we did the album in April of 2022. So it was a very different way to make the album. I think the new maturity and the patience we have with each other allowed us to be able to do it in that fashion and be successful at it. Because if you'd said to me, you're going to make your comeback album, it's going to be 7 years since you've had anything for people to hear, and it's one of the most important albums you'll ever make, and you're gonna do it over Zoom. Like, no, it ain't possible, because we do it. I mean, we write individually and bring songs, into the rehearsal room or the studio, and we'll all collaborate then. But at the beginning of an album, it's all about us being in the same room together. We'll jam and pick the best of those ideas, and there'll always be something that comes from that on every album, 2 or 3 songs, and that tends to set the tone for the rest of the album. And then we go off on our own and sort of write songs that can fit together with those initial sort of bouts of inspiration. And we didn't have that so much this time, so it was sort of written in a very different way, which turned out to be just as effective, and I'm glad it was.
But what's really new on this record? What's the new element? Or actually the secret is, to stay true to yourself, to your own style, and, maybe having nothing more to prove, in a sense, since you've done a lot. But as you said, this is an important moment in your career. So the mixture of all these feelings brought something new to the table?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with doing 6 albums and then having a chance to step back and be objective about it and almost kind of remove ourselves from being in a band and being in the answer, we could be much more objective about what was good and what was bad and what we'd like to change if we ever got the chance to do it again. And I think everyone brought that to the table, and just very much the creative process was much more everyone's ideas were listened to. You know, if someone else came in with lyrics, you know, Cormac would take those on board, or if he came in with guitar parts, you know, we would take those on board too, and across the board with Mickey and James as well. It was, I think, much more open that way, and we felt much more relaxed about it. And then I think kind of when we came to record it, it was much less, even though there's a lot of pressure that we're coming back and it has to be good, there was much less pressure in the studio, and that for me, certainly, I didn't feel like this has to be a commercially successful record. It just has to be a record that we're excited about, that we feel good about, and that's the primary goal, which you know, I think leads to better music when that's your motivation. So that really helped as well. I think having that sort of pressure off your shoulders. And then when we came to record it, it was completely live, sort of guitar, bass, and drums. Some of the vocals too were done live, and some of those were kept on the final album to 16-track tape machine. So you had to be on the ball. You know, there was no going into Pro Tools and fixing it. It had to happen in the room in that take. So all the solos were done that way, which is different for me. We've dabbled in this before on Everyday Demons and on New Horizon. We tracked some things live on that, but this time it was completely, you know, every track was that way. Of course, there are some overdubs afterwards, but not as much as usual. And the guitars are much, I think, more sparse. There's not as many as usual. It was all about getting as much as possible from that live track, and approaching it, if there's going to be another guitar part, approach it like it's another guitar player rather than, you know, a wall of sound kind of approach, which was, again, another different thing. And then also, I think when it came to pick the songs that were going to be on the album, we had, say, maybe 7 or 8 we were completely sure would be on it. And then there were 3 spots left. We weren't sure what songs would be. And we had maybe another 6 or 7. So we went into the studio and we hadn't decided what they would be yet. And just at the end of the day, we'd go into the kitchen of the studio, have a drink, listen to some music, and maybe listen to what we'd done during the day, and then listen to the songs we hadn't picked yet. And it gave us a really good kind of idea of what was going to work on the album. And to get sort of shed more light on that, on how it was different. There were some songs we didn't put on that I'd say are great songs and could have been singles. And the songs we put on were maybe, they're not singles, and they're maybe a bit peculiar or something, you know, if you heard them in isolation, you think, you know, against the other songs are better. But they fitted the album better. Things like, say, a track like Get On Back, you know, that when that comes in sort of 9-10 on the album, it just fits perfectly and takes you to a different place. Whereas before, I think we would have put the single on, and that might have maybe not worked for the cohesion of the album. You know, it might have been a better song, but it didn't work for the benefit of the team in a way. So things like maturity like that, and being able to hear things more objectively as a whole was a new experience, and I think, you know, something all 4 of us shared in and agreed on this time.
So that maybe means that we will have sooner than later a new record coming.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, I think we're contracted for 3 albums. So this is the first of 3, okay, all things being well. And yeah, this went better than we expected. The making of and how it ended up for us went better than expected. So I think we're all very excited to do another one as quickly as possible. But we have a tour to do first.
Paul, since there's so much to celebrate over, why such a melancholic title for the record?
Yeah, another good question. I think it was... I think the song, just Sundowners, became quite it had a lot of meaning during the recording process. I mean, it sounds negative, but I think the initial idea of the lyric and Sundowners came from, I think it was a title Mickey originally had for another idea he was working on, and we ended up not using, but Cormac really liked the title and he wrote some verses that worked with it. And I think the take on it was, it's thinking of like those early festivals, sort of rock festivals in the late 60s and sort of early 70s, you know, going back to Woodstock, the first Glastonbury festival, when it kind of started on a Friday and it never ended. You know, you kind of, you know, you stayed up through the night, through the day. And in a way, it's saying the sun never goes down. And, you know, we're the Sundowners and we're there for that, you know, that journey. And we just kind of felt, initially I thought that would be in the middle of the album and kind of would serve a similar purpose like Memphis Water did on Rise. And but just people came into the studio and heard it and seemed to really like the vibe of it. And someone, I think Mickey suggested putting it first. And I thought, well, you know, you can't put that first. It's too long. It takes too long to get moving. If it's on Spotify, those people will skip it. But then we just thought, you know, oh, what the hell? Let's put it in there. Let's make a statement. I think that's another thing. A lot of things we did were when we came to you know, a junction during the writing or the recording or deciding on what the cover or the title would be, we'd sort of say, well, what would we normally do? So okay, let's do the opposite. So that kind of became the mantra for how we would make these decisions, and that was one of them. Let's start with the epic track first, rather than in the middle or the end of the album.
I just read good comments, you know, about the record, or actually about the singles that are anticipating the new album. You know, from the media, radios, the fans, everybody is so excited. Do you feel this as, you know, the beginning of a new era for the band? And what's still there of that wild, you know, best new band on Classic Rock magazine back in 2005?
We're definitely still very similar, older but wiser, I like to think. I think, there's definitely, I think we've been surprised that people were still excited and, you know, still remembered us. And we did a show before Christmas for Planet Rockstock in the UK, in Wales, actually. And that was the first time, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years we played together in front of an audience. So it was quite emotional. And I think it was emotional for the audience too. And just the reception we got was, you know, a lot of gratitude for it. And it made us very excited to get back out on the road and play for more people and play the whole album this time, because I think we only did maybe 3 new songs in that set, and that was sort of the best of the old songs. And you always get excited about playing the new material, and we're very excited to do that in March and April in front of our audience again. And I mean, I've learned those other guys are still as wild as ever. I mean, you've heard the expression, "A leopard can't change its spots," and it certainly applies to those other 3. Which my few days with them during that one gig, they're still as wild as ever. But I'm much more sensible and much more calm now. You can rest assured.
The album is coming out March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you aimed, you know, that release date. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Well, I mean, the release was always changing. Well, the chance of recording was always changing because of COVID. And then when we finally got into the studio, the stars aligned, and St. Patrick's Day was the obvious choice for the album to come out. Which, I don't know, I think it's a Friday maybe. So
yes, I guess so. Yes, it is.
So even better, you know. Saturday, we've got Saturday off. we'll be doing another gig, but anyone else that comes out on Friday night for St. Pat's will have Saturday off. So it's all worked out nicely.
Yeah, that would bring, good luck for sure. You signed to Golden Robert Records, which is a global, independent, brand new label. Why this choice, and what's the difference, compared to your previous deals with the other labels?
I think with Golden Robot, it's come full circle in a way. They remind me a lot of Albert Productions, which another Australian label which we worked with on our first 2 albums, and they were independent label, so you kind of get creative freedom, and you can make the album you want, and you're also a priority for the label to make it a success, which is very important. We had sort of experience on a kind of a major label with Revival, and it's great to be on a big label like I think it was Spine Farm, which was part of Universal.
Yeah.
It was great to be plugged into that, but you're kind of one band among many others, and then many other pop acts, and you can get lost very easily among all those other priority sort of bands, which is not great. But with Golden Robots, we I think Mark Alexander Erber, who owns it, is a fan of The Answer first and foremost, and he kind of came to us and was wondering if we were still together, would we be interested in making another record? And we sat down and talked to him, and he seemed to be on the same page as us, and we were very glad he found us and we were able to come back.
Good. And how can you describe your relationship with Cormac in particular? He is a frontman, with a huge personality, which is always a plus for a band, but maybe it's not, so easy as well. So how can you describe it?
No, he's very easy to work with. We're probably quite different people in a way, but I think that's why it works. Is those differences, we kind of complement each other. I think where the things he doesn't have, I have, and vice versa. I think that's why it's worked so long and why it's lasted for so long. I mean, we don't agree on. I was going to say we don't agree on anything, or we don't agree on much. But no, there's a lot of things we agree on. But we support different football teams. There's probably, in music, things I like, he doesn't like. But that is, we've known each other for so long. It is like brothers. We are family. And
well, the football thing is okay because you can fight over that, but
yes.
And so you can agree on music.
Well, there's a lot of music we agree on too. Yeah,
okay.
We meet in the middle on a lot of things. I'm very lucky to meet him back in the day when I did, and I think when we had the break, you realize what you had, and when we got back together, it was very enjoyable making music and just hanging out and doing all the things we used to do. I think one of the things I really enjoyed during the album was once we'd finished tracking for the day, we'd just stay in the kitchen, and Mickey and James would do the cooking, and we'd have a few drinks, and we'd pick. It was this great record collection in the kitchen, with an amazing sound system. Cormac and myself would just pick out sort of the records we'd listen to, and we'd sit and sort of play records back and forth while the others were cooking, and kind of DJ for a while. We hadn't done stuff like that in years, and just really enjoyed it. And being able to do that and make an album that that you really like and was important to you is pretty. We're quite lucky to do that.
Are you still the main writers in the band?
No, kind of. I think everyone always contributed, and always had a vote and contributed something in some way. I think sometimes it's always been very democratic that way.
All right.
I mean, yeah, there's certain songs, maybe I've brought in a lot of material for. There's things Cormac's brought in. Most of the lyrics, that's it, kind of 95% have always been him. Yeah, okay. But kind of on the new album, sort of, we're all writing a bit more. Mickey's writing a lot more stuff. James is writing some more stuff. So yeah, and I think before it was hard to maybe get all those ideas in there, but when I found this way of working over Zoom, we were able to finish songs really quickly and work out whether they worked well or not very quickly. So that was a good thing.
You've been one of the first bands of the so-called revival scene in classic rock. You even called an album Revival, actually. Do you feel some way the pioneers of this new scene? And is there any other band in particular that you like on the same vein as The Answer?
At the time, no, I guess we were kind of around the time it was really kicking off, but we never thought like, oh, we're the pioneers or, anything like that. We were just happy to be there. And, but I mean, if I look closely and go back to where we were in Ireland, there weren't that many rock bands, It was kind of, I remember another band in Belfast called Paola. It was kind of them and us. And they were, they've been doing it longer than us and we're kind of more established. And then we kind of got on the scene and we're very much swimming against the tide in Northern Ireland. So that we were just very happy to, there was these bands like the Datsuns and the Darkness came out and sort of took rock music back to the mainstream. Yeah. And, and the front pages of all the magazines and music papers. That was very exciting. And, we kind of it was great to be a part of that for a while. And it certainly helped us, get a deal at the time and get the Classic Rock Award and get some recognition for the first album, which maybe we wouldn't have got. So yeah, I think those bands are definitely the Datsuns and the Darkness are two bands I really enjoyed and toured with from that time. There's so many bands that I really enjoyed touring with back then. Not a new band, but Whitesnake were kind of we toured with them on the first record, and just all the guys, from David Coverdale to Doug Aldridge to Red Beach. We met them so many times through the years, and in different bands, and I'm back with Whitesnake, and they're always very helpful and. It's kind of inspirational people to be around, and Mark Tremonti and Alter Bridge was a great friend and a great help back in the day, and of course ACDC were a band very close to our hearts. And
you did actually the Black Eyes tour, the whole of it, if I remember correctly, and that was long and that was such a great gig. As a guitarist, which is your best memory of Malcolm Young, which, if I'm correct, sounds like he's one of your main influences?
Kind of Malcolm and Angus are, definitely two of my favorites, and kind of one of the reasons I got into this in the first place. I remember my brother, not a memory from that tour, but from childhood. My brother played me "If You Want Blood, You Got It," and the live album, and I got to "Whole Lotta Rosie," and I'd never heard music like that. I was maybe 9 years old, and kind of Bon Scott was kind of scaring me a little bit, but the guitars I just fell in love with. It's how aggressive they were. They were kind of, to me at that time, it sounded really technical and really flashy. but also very accessible. So just kind of hearing those two guys for the first time is, left kind of memory I'll never forget. And then just on the tour, I remember obviously being a fan from 8-9 years of age. I never saw them live until that first night in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So we just finished the support gig, and I got the state Malcolm's side actually, and watched the whole gig from there. And it was quite a way to see them for the first time. And I have one of his plectrums. For guitar players who are going to be interested, Malcolm, he plays with incredibly heavy strings. I don't know exactly the gauge, 56 to 12 or something with a wound G string. You get very, very specific for the guitarist there. And his plectrum at the end of one show there's no point on it. It's just flat right across.
Wow.
Which is kind of incredible for one show. So he gave me that at the end, and I remember just looking at it and going, "Wow, that's incredible! What have you done to this?" I just getting to, we got to hang out with them and just chat. We chat about football. There's a comedy series called Father Ted in Ireland. They were watching DVDs of that, and we were chatting about that and music as well, of course. And just a super guy, really down to earth. Always had time to talk, so very, very sad he left us too soon. And remember, it was very sad when I heard the news, and we were playing in London, and we did If You Want Blood as a tribute to him that night. So
wow.
He's gone but not forgotten.
Yeah. Do you have any surprises for the next tour? Maybe some, major gigs like in the past with Deep Purple, Whitesnake, Aerosmith, and ACDC, something in the map for this upcoming tour? And is Italy going to be on the map soon?
At the moment, we're not going to Italy yet, no. It's just kind of a small sort of UK, and I think we do Germany, Holland, France. I think
Holland,
that's it. We have to come back to Italy, and that's that. Hopefully, it will happen sooner rather than later. I know after this tour, we will do. There's a lot of festivals coming up, so that will be, I think, from June on through the summer. There'll be a lot of festivals, and then we'll see what's happening in September, and hopefully there'll be sort of more shows in Europe again, and we'll get to go to all the places that we didn't go this time, which Italy will be right top of the list. I think it's those two AC/DC shows in Milan were two of the craziest of the whole tour of anywhere in the world.
I remember I was there. It was amazing.
The stampede for everyone to get to the front. Nowhere else in the world did that. We can't wait to get back and play for the Italian fans again.
So last two questions, Paul. Joe Elliott of Def Leppard and Jimmy Page, of course, of Led Zeppelin, are huge fans of The Answer. That self-proclaim, that they are huge fans of the band. And they also said they attended to a lot of your gigs around London. Did you meet him? Did you ever meet him at those shows? And did you think maybe about calling, them and having them as special guests on the record?
Yes. Your first question, I've met them a couple of times. Yeah. First time, I think we played in London once with Thunder before we had a record out even, and I was kind of going back up the stairs to the dressing room. And I passed someone on the staircase, and I thought, this is sort of big, tall guy. Kind of thought, and he looks familiar. I know him. And then I found out it was Jimmy Page, and he'd watched some of the show from the side of the stage. But I didn't know it until afterwards, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I looked over and saw Jimmy Page, the rest of the show would not have been as
little pressure, a little
yeah,
pressure.
a little bit. So yeah, I got to meet him briefly after that, and at the Classic Rock Awards when we got the award, I got to chat to him a little bit that night. And
Joe Elliott?
Joe Elliott, yeah, we've crossed paths quite a lot with Joe. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have either of them on the record. I'd love to write a song with Joe Elliott. He's an incredible songwriter, as are all Jimmy Page too, and all the guys in Def Leppard. I think for this album that didn't cross our minds, because we were just happy. We were just thinking, let's get this Answer record done again, which we thought would never happen. Then COVID came and was like, doubly, will we ever get a chance where, you know, everyone is, you know, healthy and can fly and get in the same room together. So when all those stars aligned, we were just happy to do it ourselves. But for the next one, yeah, if Jimmy or Joe are available, we'll certainly have them.
Don't forget, who dares wins, so you can try.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to put that to Joe and see if he's interested in the next one.
He just did a collaboration with Ghost, so he's very open, you know, to things. So yeah. Maybe. Okay, so we're now closing this interview with Livin On The Line, the video, which is an energetic but somehow bittersweet song. It seems, you know, specifically inspired by your recent story, if I'm correct, you know, of pulling the brake for a reason, but then, you know, come back. Is it correct, the feeling? And do you want to introduce the video to our listeners and viewers?
Yes, I think you've hit the nail on the head with, you know, you're describing what the song's about. That's it exactly. It was probably initially inspired by a bad hangover and just getting through that on the road. And it was actually one of the first songs we wrote once we got back together. So I think, you know, that feeling of what we've been through and now we're back and we're going to do it louder and better and faster than we did before is very much in that song. For the video, it's just a very simple video, having some fun, and we're my home city now of Paris, where I now reside. I hadn't seen the guys in a few years because I live here, and they decided, well, let's go there and make the video and we can all hang out for the weekend. So they came, stayed with me, and we went out and got a bit crazy in Pigalle and had some fun, and it was all brought a camera with us to document it, and you can now see that.
Okay, so thanks, Paul, for your time for this interview. It's been a pleasure as always, and I can't wait to see you back, you know, in Italy, or maybe I'll catch you at some festivals during the summer. Hopefully, finger crossed.
For sure.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Ciao. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Grazie mille.
Ciao. Grazie. Ciao.